fear getting stronger. All right, everybody. I'm gonna need you guys to like really pay attention really quick. All right, we about to really get into this.
Over the last 500 million years, what started as a startle reflex transformed into emotion and now shapes the structure of policy itself. It's incredibly contagious, historically been weaponized as punishment, and even heritable under the right conditions. But after a millennium of influencing, well, everything, fear seems to be less pervasive than we once thought. In fact, fear is so modifiable that not only are more people seeking it out as a form of entertainment, but in a lab, fear can be erased far easier than it's learned. Just like everything else, eventually humanity found a way to conquer it. And conquer it, we did.
Alright, well, here's my take on that, right? I don't think that we really conquered our fear necessarily. I mean, in the term, hold on, give me 1 second. Sorry, that's the reason why there's so much noise. But I don't think that we necessarily conquered all of our fears. I think that we just learned how to coexist with our fears, I would say, right? And by coexist, I mean like by inventing new things, we just found ways to outrun the things that we really truly fear so that we don't ever have to fear those things again. When in reality, those fears are the reason why those things were put in place to begin with. I don't know.
Except, that's completely false. As of 2019, anxiety disorders have shot up by 55%, while new phobias pop up every other year, most of which seem...
Yo, and that's another thing too, like during the pandemic, I'm not gonna lie, like my social anxiety, I don't know if it was like this for a lot of other people, but after the lockdowns and everything went away, like I couldn't even it was hard for me to even have like a conversation. It just wasn't the same. Like I got kind of used to like just internalizing, like, you feel me, just being used to like, I don't know, that for me, like I could say, yeah,
irrational or harmless,
he's definitely
but
right
are
about
still
that.
potent enough to shape entire generations. Have we really found a way to conquer fear, or has it just mutated into different forms? Well, in a cycle as old as our species itself, no matter how many fears we overcome, twice as many emerge just as quickly to take their place, changing in form as humanity moved from real threats to abstract ones, evolving with us as fear moved from biology into...
Which one of y'all actually think that y'all would be able to fight this? Like, if you really sit here and think that this animal right here is gonna go down by the hands of you, you're bugging. I'm sorry, you're bugging. It's just not possible, bro. Like, you gotta be real with yourself, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, like, that animal, I don't know how things would be if this animal was still alive today, right? This is a primal, this is an ancestor of the ancestors of what's here now. Like, I don't think we would ever survive this, bro. I'm sorry.
From real threats to abstract ones, evolving with us as fear moved...
Yeah, I already know you mad right now. I keep pausing the video. I'm gonna just keep playing it, alright? Relax.
From biology into culture, and then fiction, science, finance, technology, space exploration, and every other layer of human existence. It is possibly the one thing we may never be able to control, with an influence so deep it's unsettling to imagine what control over fear would even look like. But despite everything I just said, there's a catch. We have found a way to dull fear's effects, and yet it's everywhere, spreading wider than ever before. Is fear getting stronger?
I think so.
If fear is getting stronger, how would we even know? One way is to look at individuals, using their heart rate and their flinches, but that's too one-dimensional and doesn't account for the diversity in fear. Another way would be to track different fears across society, but that's too static and only tells us where fear is right now. So a better method would be to start from the beginning, mapping as many different fears as we can through a series of levels, the deepest being biology. At the biological level, we have the most primitive fears,
wow.
The oldest of which is the acoustic startle reflex, which isn't technically a fear, but is the foundation of every other fear.
Oh my god, bro. Funny story. I was at work one time. This was actually maybe a month or two ago. I'm going into the closet, right? So we have closets and we have the lights off. Because the lights are automatic, so they turn on when they detect motion. So I go into the closet right, to go grab what I needed to grab so I could go back downstairs. I looked to my right. All I heard was, "Hey." I said, "What? Whoa!" My fight or flight reflexes, it was just insane. Like, I felt every single, like, every memory that I could think of, when it comes to being startled. I always refer back to that memory specifically. Like, bro, ridiculous.
Its only purpose is survival.
But we definitely do need those reflexes to survive. We definitely do. No matter how scared we are, biologically, that is something that we need.
Forcing a reaction to any sudden noise. Because of that, it's an all or nothing response, hardwired into the brainstem and universal across all mammals. However, while this does mean that it can't scale in strength, it doesn't mean that it can't scale in sensitivity. And when paired with higher brain regions, this reflex could be shaped by perception, which is where the second fear in this level comes from: heights. The fear of heights is also hardwired, so much so that even turtles have it. But in humans, it's even more apparent, as in infants, the illusion of a drop-off causes them to pause and refuse to cross, which marks the beginning of what characterizes real fear. It's anticipatory. While the fear of heights is very narrow, recognizing cues in the environment came with its own set of advantages.
Like what?
Chief among them was anticipating threats instead of just reacting to them. And while this was undeniably beneficial, it did have one major drawback. Now, fear was something that lingered. An environment full of information that's very helpful that allowed us to predict, anticipate, and respond preemptively. But strip away that information, and what once kept you safe starts to work against you. Or in other words, darkness, the last fear in this level. What's interesting about darkness, to me, is that it isn't the dark that makes things unsettling. In fact, many prey animals are nocturnal precisely because of the darkness. What makes the darkness unsettling is what it hides, a function of the fact that we're diurnal. Humans are overwhelmingly daylight dependent, so much so that the cones in our eyes require bright light to function well. At night, there is no bright light, so in response, we use another type of cell located in the periphery of the retina called rods. And while they're great at detecting motion, they are terrible at detecting detail, which leaves us in a position where we can't pick up on color, can't pick up on sharpness, but are hypersensitive to the jittery shapes at the edge of our vision. By itself, this isn't too bad, but imagine living 300,000 years ago, where real-life monsters much stronger than you.
Oh my god, bro, imagine like living in the Stone Ages, like, and there's like barely light anywhere. Like, they got like literal, like, they gotta light fires to have that John lit. And imagine on a windy night, you're walking around, you can't see anything. You're just walking around in the middle of the forest, you can't see anything. Oh yeah, you're shaking your boots. I'm sorry. You might not make it through the night. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. Let's just be real. What he's saying is very factual. Like, you gotta think about it. Like, the people who went through that back then, I feel sorry for them, bro. I'm so glad that we were like born at the time that we are now. You understand? Because I don't think, like, I don't know, bro.
We're actively hunting humans. Suddenly, every rustle could be a predator, every shadow a threat, which gets to the heart of what makes the darkness terrifying.
Yo, I keep forgetting that I gotta hold the mic because when I put it down, like, you could barely hear anything I'm saying.
You can never be certain, and when your main survival strategy is anticipating threats, this same system is now working in overdrive, constantly guessing off of very limited information what's dangerous and what's not. Over generations, those who guess danger more often survive longer, and as a result, changed fear forever.
Facts.
Now, it persists, it can spread, but most importantly, it thrives under ambiguity. And the dangerous thing about ambiguity is, it's everywhere.
Oh, come on, bro. Why'd I have to get hit with an ad? Right, I'm gonna start putting ad blocks, bro.
Social.
Level 2 is where fears become human, influenced by our interactions with other people.
Level 2.
And what I find surprising about that is, nothing illustrates this better than a 500 million year old reflex rooted in contamination cues, or in other words, the fear of pathogens, which actually comes from the disgust system, a sister of fear, but didn't fully mature until humans started living in groups. When we did, working together changed everything, but perhaps most quietly by opening a new dimension to fear, internal threats. which are invisible to the naked eye but just as deadly as anything else. So while darkness made us afraid of what might be out there, pathogens took that same ambiguity and turned it inside, which is way worse because unlike predators, pathogens don't announce themselves. They're delayed in onset, silent, and most dangerously, spread in accordance with the very thing that made humans successful, the size of our groups.
That's exactly.
And there's some terrifying examples of this across history.
That is exactly
the Black
what happened.
Death in just a few years killed roughly 50% of Europe's population. The Justinian plague of Constantinople killed so many people that bodies had to be piled in the streets or dumped into the ocean. But the most interesting thing, to me, is the after effects. The fear of pathogens can't possibly just be chalked up to the fact that they're lethal, because at a deeper level, they're transformative. Every pandemic in the history of humanity created immense changes that spread much farther than the death toll. They changed our psychology, our behavior, who we eat with or who we trust. They changed economies, the level of superstition, and the amount of control. In fact, in Rome's case, the Justinian plague is thought to be one of the leading theories behind why its empire collapsed. All of these are a function of pathogens targeting the places that should be the safest. Us. Except, they were never the safest, were they? Because you know what's more terrifying than something that's invisible? Something that can hide its intentions, and worse, is just as clever as you are. The craziest thing I found when I was trying to map these different fears is this.
Oh my god, bro, that is so crazy too when you think about it. Like, I was watching another video about like the world's first like serial killer. It actually goes very, very far back, bro. It's crazy. You gotta check it out.
The International
We might
Affective
actually
Picture
check it out
System,
though.
which is a mouthful. But if you look closely, there's one fear that consistently generates more negative emotion than almost anything else. It's not pollution, not disease, and not predators. It's humans. Specifically, angry humans. And it's for good reason. Humans can undoubtedly be more compassionate than anything that has ever existed.
Bro, just imagine like you're trying to have a conversation with a caveman and he just looks at you and he's just like he just throws like a rock at you, it just hits you right in the head. You try to run away and then he just starts hulking. Like, you know how Hulk could jump across imagine the cave that, bro, you gotta remember these dudes was like they was pretty strong, bro. Cavemen were able to like tackle mammoths. Like these dudes was actually tough, bro. I'm sorry. And when I say tackle, I mean obviously it took groups of them. But the fact that they were even that strong, hold on. And we got people talking on TikTok about if 100 people versus a gorilla, who gonna win, bro? They was literally out there in the field, bro. You're not surviving around that time period, bro. I'm sorry.
We also have that same capacity towards violence. And this capacity isn't exactly a recent phenomenon. 10,000 years ago, a group of hunter-gatherers were, for lack of a better word, massacred. And it wasn't exactly merciful. In a sample of Paleolithic fossils, 26% had some form of cranial trauma, most of which were male. And in two modern hunter-gatherer societies, roughly 40% of all deaths come from other humans. Regardless of the conditions, humans can be, and often are, a threat.
I think humans are the most dangerous.
What can truly make humans terrifying is that they're you. They know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, how to best inflict pain, and perhaps...
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, humans are more dangerous than, like... Humans are more dangerous than, like, the, other animals out there that don't, think the way that we do or operate the way that we do, to the, the level that we do as well. I think that we're the most dangerous because we have the ability to... And we have the ability to deceive, right? Not the same way that like a lion would deceive you, right? By like tricking you into thinking that it's cool with you and then it strikes you, right? No. We're a little different in that way. Like humans have a way of like we think in terms of time and we have all these different perceptions of what's what and what is and what's not. That ability alone makes us a lot more dangerous than a wild animal. And you got to think about the cavemen, even before that, just early humans. that were like first here. They were essentially wild animals. That's what they were. And we basically developed that ability. That's pretty scary. Pretty darn scary.
Worst of all, how to build tools that do it better. Something that, despite being documented in other animals for hunting purposes, hasn't popped up in any other species. Still, to imply that the fear of angry humans only comes from violence is, in my opinion, false. Because while that's definitely part of it, violence is, at least partially, a product of something deeper. After I found the affective picture system, the first thing I did is start tearing through mythology. Because, what are ancient stories if not an artifact of human psychology? And what I found is that violence is quite prevalent, but every time it's mentioned, there's another theme right there with it that I think is even more important: belonging. In the Romulus and Remus story, the brotherly conflict stems from who has the right to belong as the founder of Rome. When arguing about the city walls, Romulus kills Remus, which literally marks the line between who belongs in the city and who doesn't. In the story of Cain and Abel, God accepts Abel's offer but rejects Cain's. Infuriated by this, Cain kills Abel, and for those actions is punished by being banished, or in other words, by not belonging. But while this thread is intimately tied to these stories of violence, it's also everywhere else. In medieval Europe, punishments of shame were literally designed to weaponize this mechanism. In Imperial China, punishment was enforced through the conge, a massive wooden collar that had to be worn in public. In neuroscience, social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain.
Oh my god, that would suck. Bro, that's like being on house arrest. Except, like, you're not being traced. You just have to wear it everywhere you go. So everybody knows, like, yeah, this guy right here, I gotta stay away from this guy. Yeah, keep that guy away from me.
Which has also been documented in primates. It's why they groom, thought to be why we blush, part of why fear is socially contagious, and of course, perfectly aligns with everything we know about evolutionary biology. All of these, at least to me, highlight what the biggest fear of humans towards other humans actually is: the need to belong, which as a category is made up of the fear of rejection, humiliation, disapproval, and looking foolish. What other explanation could there possibly be for why people fear public speaking of all things more than death?
Mind fears!
An interesting experience that exemplifies what level 3 is about is what I like to call place-based anxiety, which has been documented all across the world.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I have to. I used to be afraid of public speaking as well until I actually took that class in school. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you the cliche thing and be like, oh yeah, after the class I just fell in love with it and I just got good at it. No, public speaking is essentially just the ability to be able to speak, get your point across, deliver, and get people to understand what you're saying, but also not be affected by other people's opinions of you or what you're saying or what you might look like or what they perceive in what you're saying. Because everybody has opinions, and at the end of the day, the people that can reflect on what you're saying and then use that in a positive way to help themselves or to learn whatever it is they're seeking. If you practice public speaking, you understand that there are people out there that do want to hear what it is that you have to say, or there are people out there that are essentially coming there to get some type of answer to something that you have knowledge about. So
essentially, people,
don't be
for
shy.
no apparent reason, experience a sudden wave of dread in one specific location. Sometimes it's a room in a relative's house, other times a hallway in an office building. Regardless, every time they step into it, a sudden wave of fear hits them. What's strange is that nothing about the place seems out of the ordinary. There's no creepy backstory, no hidden threat. It's perfectly fine. And yet, every single time, without fail, the feeling hits out of nowhere. Most people think it comes from low-frequency sound, which our nervous system picks up on and then interprets as a threat. But this kind of fear, the kind that's not dangerous yet feels as though it is surprisingly—
oh my god, phobia. Ugh, bro, I have this one specific phobia. It's called trypophobia. I'm gonna try to see if I can search up a picture. Actually, I don't want to search that up. I am not searching that up. You can look that up on your own time. If I look that up, I might mess around and just pass out right now. I can't look at that. I just can't. It's the fear of small holes. Okay, like I just can't see little tiny little holes like this small all up close and personal together like that. It makes me feel sick. Like sometimes when I look at bubbles, just the bubbles being so close together, like it just looks disgusting. I don't like little clusters of like stuff all together like that. It's I don't know. It sends a chill down my body. Okay.
Comet,
these headphones,
submerged
bro.
man-made objects, for example, are not something most people will encounter in their lifetime. There's also nothing inherently dangerous about them. But a rusting chain, disappearing into the abyss below, so far you can't tell where it ends, can instantly send a shiver down your spine. Same thing with buildings that are way too large, spaces that are way too tight, needles, weird patterns, and basically anything else that are way too tight.
Okay. All right. I was gonna let it slide. People who do this make absolutely no sense to me. Buddy, you can't fit in that small tunnel. That's a small little hole. Your body is not fitting in there. And then people get surprised when they get stuck in between the rock. And now you gotta call for help. And no one's there. Like you're in the middle of nowhere, crawling into a hole in the side of a mountain. For what? For what? So you could tell the story? Oh yeah, I went to the other side. Congratulations, buddy. You got lucky.
Spaces that are way too tight, needles, weird patterns, and basically anything else. There is only one reason I can think of for why fears like this can exist, and it's called
I built my dream life, but I used AI
recursion
to help me get there.
Nah, it makes
Try
sense.
Motion. It's a personal assistant.
recursion. So far in its evolution, we've seen how fear changed from a physical reaction to an emotional one, largely because as we grew more complex, so did our environments. As our environments grew more complex, so did the types of threats we would face. But when it comes to recursion, the ability to think about thinking,
Okay, so what I'm seeing right here, he has a graph. There's level 1 recursion, level 2 recursion, level 3 recursion, level 4, and then infinite recursion. So basically what I'm seeing is like, I'm going to think of the analogy of the game of telephone. Like basically over the years, as we started progressing through technology and then just our ability to understand our own emotions and our own emotional intelligence, that led us to basically develop new fears. That's literally what he said, but it makes complete sense as to why those fears would get worse over time, because as things develop, we start to have new problems and new things that pop up.
think about thinking, we don't even know how it evolved. Theories range from language being the origin, to violence being its precursor, all the way to it stemming from how the brain processes things. Regardless, the ability to nest thoughts was possibly more impactful on us than anything ever. Because, well, it's what allows us to create, to plan, to worry about the future and imagine hypotheticals. But as great as that is, it also leaves us vulnerable to systems like fear. And once fear enters a nested loop of thinking, it doesn't need an actual threat. It becomes self-sustaining, a loop that can grow and feed inside your imagination. This is where catastrophizing comes from, where panic attacks come from, where phobias or the feeling of something being haunted comes from. But what's crazy is that it's also where the enjoyment of fear comes from, allowing us to experience fear without being in any real danger. So while being the creator of abstract fears, it also changed the nature of fear, which is important because it means fear is getting stronger. And it's getting stronger because it doesn't need you.
Society!
Up until this point, we focused on how
Yo, if you guys made it this far in the video, I want you guys to please like the video, comment down below what do you guys want to watch next, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Alright, level 4, let's go.
fear shaped us, which was necessary
Societal
because
fear.
for most of human history, it was shaping us. But the thing about humans is, we can influence things too, and when we do, that new version can influence us back. This is the essence of memetics, and fear is no exception. So when humans started creating things, we started influencing fear, shaping it in the ways that were most beneficial to us. However, in doing so, we also
Oh my god, that's like that saying, new fear unlocked. So basically, every new tool that we made, we created a new fear of what could happen with that thing. So like, if I made a wheel, right? Let's say I invented the wheel, then I just essentially developed the fear of that wheel being able to run over me or something. Like, what if it could happen? You know, because now I see how the wheel operates. Obviously, it rolls. It could fall. Gravity still exists.
People made fear self-replicating, something that doesn't need people, can spread between them, and can last generations. As far as I know, two reoccurring narratives capture this perfectly: the endless quest and the temptation of forbidden knowledge. In the first one, stories like Sisyphus or the Flying Dutchman are essentially fears about unavoidable situations. In them, a defined individual cheats fate, gets punished, and then ends up suffering eternally. The original fear that inspired this theme was probably some form of helplessness, but after changing through generations of countless retellings, it spread into other areas, shaping morality, how we understand things, persevere, and so much more. In the second pattern, stories like Pandora's Box or The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter likely stems from a fear of what isn't immediately visible, rooted in our fear of darkness. In them, there's something forbidden, curiosity tempts someone into interacting with it, and their interaction triggers consequences. Over generations, we turn that fear, the fear rooted in darkness, into a fear of human progress, which even now continues to grow, shape, and be shaped by us. So to answer the question, fear is getting stronger, and it will always get stronger, because as we change, it does too. Thanks for watching.
What if you can create your...
Wow, that was a great video. I'm not even gonna lie, that was a great video. If you guys like the video, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the comment section, and tell me what you guys want to watch in the next video. Guys, we've been running it up this last week, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest. I think that, that was very insightful. Definitely, try to conquer your fears,